Hello again. Let's talk a little bit about the different options the Jets have heading into the draft. Now, Sam Darnold's obviously a big decision. That decision will not be made until they get a coach in here. But there's really only three options you have with Darnold. You keep him and extend him. You keep him and let his contract expire, or you trade him. Okay. I personally think the Jets will either trade Darnold for whatever they can get, or keep him without extending him and just let him be a lame duck and then let him walk at the end of next year. I don't, for various reasons, which I won't get into again here, I don't see them giving him his option and extending him. If he has a monster year during the year, maybe, but I don't even think then. I think by then their decision will be made and they will have made moves to move on from Sam Darnold. So with those options in mind, trade, expire, extend, the Jets have options at that number 2 pick. Now, if you're going to extend Darnold, then obviously you trade that number 2 pick. There will be a lot of interest in Justin Fields. There'll be a lot of interest in quarterbacks in general, even if the team ultimately doesn't want Justin Fields. So if you're going to extend Darnold, which I think is the absolute 0.1% chance, then you're gonna trade that pick. You're gonna trade back, get probably 2 to 3 first rounders, a couple of second rounders, a couple of third rounders, whatever. You might get 6 picks out of that, and then you're gonna trade back, and you're gonna get a bunch of picks. Now, I think that's the least likely option, is extending Darnold. However, there is a possibility the Jets trade back even if they don't extend Darnold, and the 99.9% chance that they don't extend Darnold. The Jets could decide to trade Darnold in the offseason and go in, sign a vet, and draft a quarterback at 2. The Jets could go and sign a vet, which I think the Jets will sign a vet no matter what, whether it's Flacco again or Stafford or somebody else. The Jets are going to sign a vet. More likely a guy who is more of a quarterback / coach like McCown was, who they can sign for 2 years with not a ton of money, and possibly front load the contract so that there's not a cap hit if they have to let him go. But I don't think they're going to go the route of someone like Stafford, who's still going to look for starting money in a number of years. I don't think they're going to commit that long, because I think the Jets are looking for a quarterback. I don't know whether they'll take it this year. I've kind of backed off of that stance whether they'll grab it this year. The Jets could elect to trade back and trade back up next year for a quarterback, but that would mean they don't necessarily love anyone who's there this year. So if the Jets do love a quarterback, obviously they are going to draft Fields or whoever else at 2, or they could even trade back a few spots and draft one of the other guys if they don't love Fields. But if the Jets love a quarterback, then they don't extend Darnold. They might even trade Darnold. They sign a vet, and they either pick the quarterback there or they trade back and pick them later. The other option with trading back is also you could trade back, and as I said, you could then start to build your guys and then have your eye on a guy next year, and then trade up and do what it takes to get that guy next year, whether it's at the 1 pick, the 2 pick, the 5 pick, whatever it is. So those are your options there. Now, there's always the option of staying in the 2 spot and either grabbing a quarterback or grabbing someone else. If you stay in the 2 spot and grab Fields, you got your quarterback. You still sign a vet. You just never know. You need a backup anyway. You may not want to give the kid the job on the first day. There's kind of mixed results with that. There's guys like Burrow and Herbert this year who did really well. There's a couple of other guys over the past few years who have done very well. Starting from day one. Hasn't worked for the Jets, but you never know. If they get a guy in here as a coach who develops quarterbacks, then maybe. But they're going to sign a vet either way. So you then draft your quarterback at 2. If you like one of the other guys, you trade back, grab him then. Or you don't grab your quarterback this year, and then you can either do the same thing. You can stay at 2 and draft the offensive lineman, Sewell. You could draft a receiver. You could draft whoever. I don't think the Jets stay at 2 if they're not taking a quarterback. And I think if they do take a quarterback, they will stay at 2. And obviously, you could still trade back and get a quarterback. But I think in general, if the Jets They shouldn't. They should not stay at 2 if they're not drafting a quarterback. Get picks for whoever wants that quarterback. So it's almost a given that if the Jets are not taking a quarterback this year, that they're going to move back, grab some picks. The question is who? Now you got great receivers. You got 2 or 3 really good receivers at the top of the draft. You have that offensive lineman where they won't get him if they drop more than a pick or 2, and they may not get him if they drop past 3 because Miami's rumored to take him. You have the wide receivers. You have Chase. You have Smith. I forget who the third guy is, but you have those guys. There's a couple of good corners. There's, I forget, a big tight end, Pitts, right? Kyle Pitts. I forget his name. But there's guys for the Jets to get if they stay in the top 10. Now, if you're not drafting a quarterback and you take a trade out of the top 10, you're going to get a lesser player, but you're going to get a lot more picks. Now, in previous years with bad GMs, I would not necessarily want to accumulate picks because the Jets don't pick well. Douglas, I think, picks pretty well. A couple of questionable picks last year. Most prominently James Morgan in the 4th round. I don't know why you needed a quarterback there, but that could point to not having a lot of confidence in Darnold. And I don't think Darnold is going to be here next year. I think Douglas is going to want his own guy. He rightfully so. I think any coach coming in will probably want his own guy. I don't see the merit in thinking that at this point that you can keep Sam Darnold and turn him into something. It'll take you a year or 2 of developing him, and you may as well put that work into a younger, cheaper quarterback. So those are your options, really. I mean, the question really comes down. I think the question about Darnold, I think, is already resolved, and even if he stays, they're not extending him. So let's forget about that. Your option really comes down to, do the Jets love any of the quarterbacks in this year's draft, or do they have their eye on someone next year and pull it that way and trade back and then come back up next year? It's really only a 2-year thing. You can't go to the 3rd year and do that unless, of course, you really don't love anybody, in which case you can build your team and then accumulate draft picks and trade for a guy. I mentioned this in an earlier video about Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson was available a couple of years from now and the Jets had not found the guy and they had this monster young team that was ready to go and only needed a quarterback, then get some picks out there, clear some cap room, and get a Deshaun Watson in here. But there's always another quarterback like that. Well, maybe not always. Maybe not always like Watson, But that's an option for the Jets as well. I think that's a big gamble. I think you're better off going with a quarterback now or next year. If you, putting the Watson thing aside for a minute, if you extend to that 3rd year and you still haven't found a quarterback, now you're running into guys moving along in their rookie contracts, and you can't afford to keep everybody. And then when you bring the quarterback in here, you got to dismantle the team because you don't have the money to pay these guys, and it's just a constant, endless cycle. It all revolves around the quarterback. All right, that's it. I'd love to hear your comments. If you disagree with me, if you're going to scream about Sam Darnold, go right ahead. We can argue. It's all good. I'm speaking a lot of logical points about him here, and I know we all love the kid. He's a great kid, blah, 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 blah. He's not the answer here, at least right now, and he's not going to be because he is not Douglas's or this new coach's guy. You have a great night. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the games this weekend.